Okay, it's subs week on the Pagan Perspective. I'm Tim. I'm your Thursday sub. I'm all nicely dressed up in a shirt and okay, I've got no tie on, but it's a shirt and I've got a clean beard, freshly oiled, because I'm a substitute teacher and I was supposed to be working today, but the school didn't need me. So I'm a sub on my day off from being a sub, which is fine because I've just had 2 weeks off for Easter. Yes. So this week, the subs are looking back over previous topics that have been covered this year. I have done a few sub videos this year so far, so there's a couple of topics I've already covered in previous videos. I'll put links to those below, if hopefully I'll remember, but I should. So working backwards, so this week so the week just gone, they were talking about, the channel was talking about familiars versus pets. You have familiar, what does that mean? How do you know if an animal companion is a familiar or is familiar material? And the role of your pets, if any, in your practice. I do have a dog. I have a housemate who also has a dog in the house. She is also pagan. The housemate, not the dog. Well, I don't know. I've not asked the dog. That would be rude to assume. But I do have animals. I've had animals growing up. I do very much like animals. I'm an animal person. And I, as a person who eats them as well, I still feel comfortable saying that. Controversy, or maybe not. I don't know. Is that No, it's not controversial. Unpalatable, perhaps. Ironic. Yeah. Anyway, familiars. So I did a quick Google about familiars, and originally, and this is my half remembering from Googling, but familiars being originally spirits or demons or kind of otherworldly beings that a practitioner has formed a pact with, or like a dream guide, something kind of intangible in spirit form or in dream form, to assist in or take part in practice. This is what came up when I'm Googling. Now, the problem is there's lots of misinformation. If you go to Kara's channel, she talks about this on occasion. Definitely on her Instagram, she talks about it. So I would say that definitely none of those things would apply to me. I would say that my path, or at least in my practice, there is less of the more fancy spellcasting. I would say that looking after plants with intent, reading runes, divination, making bind runes, using those bind runes in specific ways, personal work on myself, are more, and obviously taking part in circle and things like that, are as far as I go. So the idea of using a familiar in magic isn't something that does come up with me. As far as animal companions, I think they're incredibly important. I think humans are a social animal. There's a reason why solitary confinement is a torture. And while healthy dialogue and discussion and ideas being challenged is important in a human group, I think that the pure companionship and company and affection you can get from an animal is something that is also very, very important. Especially dogs. If you're even halfway lucky, you got someone who will absolutely love you no matter what. and needs you, and they can rely on you. And I don't know, it's a very important thing to have, I think, as part of the mix. Um, I don't think that animals necessarily can take the place of human interaction, especially if you're looking in any way to grow as a human being, and develop to your absolute most, your highest potential, as it were. But I think they're definitely important. Um, I think they can be important in your magic as far as helping ground you to the earth. Especially when you've got a dog, you have to take them outside. Um, I think that relationship with the world around you and the planet definitely helps if you've got um, that anchor in looking after animals or plants, I suppose. And to be honest, as far as an animal guide or animal companion or familiar, I personally can't see why a plant couldn't have the same role. Um, as far as from my perspective on it, I do occasionally talk to my plants. I look after the plants. I have to nurture the plants. Um, it's definitely something that, like I say, anchors you to the world. Now, obviously, an oak tree in a pot isn't the same as an oak tree out in the middle of a field. A dog is not the same as, say, a gorilla or a wolf. Um, you could say that they're unnatural. They're not. They're an anchor. They're a partway point. Um, and I think that that connection is important. And I think that short of living in a forest under um, a makeshift hut made of the local materials, having plants in the house, having animals in the house, definitely can be something that helps connect you to the outside, especially if you're someone who doesn't get outside very often or has days where you can't get out. Maybe you have kind of anxiety issues or something, and you often don't leave the house, as is sometimes the case with myself. Um, I like the fact that I have trees in my bedroom. Um, so yeah, that's my take on familiars and pets. Um, as I said, well, as I have previously said, my path leans more druidic, which appears to be, from my personal experience and the people I've been around. It appears to be that the druidic path is less um, bells and whistles, smoke and magic type stuff, and more of a librarian, hippie nerd, nature, tree hugging kind of thing, maybe. Don't know. That's my take, at least. That's my approach. Um, Going back through the topics. So yeah, affinity with the elements. I've already done a video on, so I'll link that below, including family in your practice. I don't. Um, my practice is a personal thing for me. It's definitely a personal development. It's part of me trying to develop myself to the best that I can be. I did invite my brother and a friend of mine to the last Gorseth I attended at Avebury. They were slightly bewildered at some of the things. They were very pleased to have to take part in the mead and what was it? The cake or flapjack? Anyway, the food and drink that was passed around, they were very pleased with. we went to visit a Stone Age long barrow. Obviously, they joined in the circle in the Gorseth. We went around, we visited the Tolkien trees. We visited a spring nearby. So it was a nice day out, and I was able to kind of let them into a little bit of my world somewhat, and I'll talk about everything openly and whatnot. They were interested. It's not something that they were getting out of the same. What they were getting out of it wasn't the same that I get out of it, but definitely it was something that I am glad I did. My family are aware of the fact that I'm on this path, and I've missed out on a few kind of small family gatherings due to my pagan commitments that I've made to myself more than anything else. I want to visit every Avebury Gorseth this year, and I'm taking it upon myself to start planting a forest as a personal thing in a secret location, kind of a bit of a guerrilla thing going on, which I'm involving my brother in. So there is some level of involvement, but not in any big way. The other videos that were made on that topic were brilliant. I'll definitely go back and watch those, especially Yucca's video, because of the fact that she is raising kids from right at the very beginning as in that environment. So it's definitely something that's worth looking at. Astral projection, views on that, and perhaps lucid dreaming. I'm one of those unlucky buggers who doesn't remember my dreams. Occasionally I'll have a really good one. I've been diagnosed with sleep apnea. I have a mask I've got to put on my face and have air pushed down my throat at night to help me to actually sleep properly. That may be part of it. It might be that I don't sleep deep enough that I can easily lucid dream, or even just have dreams that I remember. I don't know. Sometimes I do. I've found that putting videos on YouTube by my bed at night, these like lucid dreaming music videos and things like this, they definitely can help me to get to sleep better, to have a more rested night, and sometimes I will remember dreams while listening to those, but it's not all the time. I've been to a couple of talks by an author called Dodie Hamilton, lovely woman, about astral projection. It's something that she does and has done for a very long time, and honestly it's something that I'm on a Druidic-ish Norse kind of path. I say Norse, that's a true type path. Druidic, Celtic type thing. But a year and a half ago I was hardline atheist, can't see it, don't believe it. Over time my you know, when you go to the opticians, this doesn't make sense, this is not a segue, they put those glasses on your face that like a big frame, and they can put lots of little lenses in, and they can put new ones in, and that's clearer, better, worse. And you know, kind of, if you're wearing that and they put it on and you're basically, everything's blurry as hell, you're basically blind, and then they start putting things in. I've had a few experiences that have opened my pagan eyes, as it were. First in Avebury with Terry Dobney, who is seeming a lot better now. He's not completely fixed up. Had a stroke last year, but he definitely appears to have made improvements recently, which is good. And the second significant event would definitely be, or at least one of the few significant events would be Dodie Hamilton's talk on astral projection. It's not something I can do, have experience of. I don't think. But certainly listening to her talk made me think about it very differently. Um, it's something that it's very difficult for people to get out of their heads the image of magic in media. Uh, Dumbledore whipping up a fiery tornado in the Ministry of Magic, Binks reinflating himself after being run over by a car. There's a lot of examples, and my brain's gone blank, but you get the idea. Shooting fireballs out of your hands, teleporting, yeah. It's very difficult to get these images out of your head because we've all grown up with them, especially when you've got a background like mine. But the way Dodie talked about astral projection made me completely believe that it is something that happens, can be learned, can be trained, and is of use. There's actually a point in doing it. There are a lot of things maybe that are done during, or as part of magical practice, that maybe you could say are more for someone's just personal preference or their own feelings in the moment. The way she spoke about Dodie, the way she spoke about astral projection made it seem like it's something that is useful to do for anyone. That it helps you to collect thoughts, to solve problems, to stretch your mind, to further links with community and friends and family. I won't go into it in huge detail because honestly I didn't take notes. My memory for discrete facts, especially if there's no underlying principle that I can understand, is very poor. But I do remember my feelings on things. And I do know that astral projection is definitely something that's worth looking into if you haven't done so yet. I know that the previous videos on this, done last week now, I think 2 weeks ago, definitely worth looking at. I'm terrible with people's names. Sorry, fellow Pagan Perspective hosts. But anyway, go watch all of them. They're all good. Let's see. So, that's those. What else did we have? So, March. No, that's March, April. Oh, really? That was March. So, path inspiration, finding the path. So I've talked about how I came to the tradition I'm practicing previously, but I have had thoughts about it since. So I'm mostly on those kind of a druidic path with like an Asatru Viking fan sort of slant. I won't lie, I'm definitely influenced by the media I've grown up with. One of the earliest novels I remember reading was Saga of Eric the Viking or something, or I'm not sure, I've got it on my shelf over there, but no, I can't see it from here, I don't know why I'm even looking. I grew up with the Thor comics, and that's definitely 100% my way in. I also grew up with Asterix comics and thought Getafix was an absolute legend. So over the years there were lots of those kind of things. When I got into wrestling, I remember Triple H coming out as a Viking one time. Um, any kind of anything with wizards, that kind of druidy kind of appearance, kind of going back to Getavix, remember? Because that was my image of a druid. Um, World of Warcraft, I played a druid for 8 years, even when it wasn't the best class, because that's kind of that was a thing that I was interested in. Always been a fan of nature. And I think that's possibly what is colouring my path. Um, I feel at this point in my life, given events in my life, I would be on a pagan path regardless. Whether or not it would have ended up more um, maybe Wicca, or I don't know. But I think that there's a reason why I'm on the path I'm on, and whether you need to give it a label or not, it definitely makes it easier for other people to understand. It makes it easier to find a community of like-minded individuals, certainly. But I'm not too stressed out on the labels myself. Um, Media representation. I've talked about that a bit. It's very hard to get that out of the way. Thinking, feeling, orthodoxy, orthopraxy, career choices, open. So I've covered a lot of these topics already. So I'll finish off with the January topics. Starting a pagan YouTube channel. I've got a YouTube channel, link in the description. Make videos. If people like it, they'll come to you. If not, they won't. As far as promotion and stuff like that, I've got no idea, unfortunately. What questions would you like? What would you ask the viewers? I'll come to that at the end. New sub. Hello, I'm a new sub. I did that already. But goals, intentions for the year. This year I'm working a lot on my garden. I also want to start working more with Ogham. Obviously learning the shapes is important. I think as far as doing any kind of divination or charm work or anything like that with any particular character set, I feel that learning the character set first is important. I've not looked massively into Ogham as of yet. I have a vague academic awareness of what Ogham is, how it's written, some history of Ogham, why it came about, what it was used for. But as far as the more esoteric uses of Ogham and deeper meanings of Ogham potentially, I've got very little knowledge there. It's been on my to-do list, but I feel that when you do something, you should kind of do it properly. And I am very self-critical, so just working with runes, for example, I mean, I only work with one set at the moment. I do want to start learning medieval runes, so I can just start writing with it, so that I can focus more on magical uses of Elder Futhark, because we don't have many uses of that much. We don't have a huge amount of evidence of huge number of artifacts. There we go. With Elder Futhark written down, just because it's so old. Most of the Viking writing was done with younger Futhark, and obviously medieval runes would be better for writing English and Old English in. And obviously one day I'm going to be an old English man, so it'd be nice to be able to write in even just writing in code, it seems like quite a cool idea. So yeah, definitely want to learn organ. I started growing my own herbs. I started growing my own vegetables in the garden. I've got potatoes in the ground at the moment. Strawberries, raspberry, apple, pear. What else have I got? Green gage. Obviously my oak farm. There's quite a few wild oak trees near me. I say wild, they've been planted, but they're out in the outside, that appear to still have their leaves on from last season. So some trees. So I was harvesting oak leaves to make tea. Oak tea, very good apparently. Doesn't taste great, but it's medicinal, anti-inflammatory, antibacterial. I was collecting oak leaves from one tree, and then 5-10 minutes away, there's another tree that's still got last year's brown leaves on it, and the tree's not dead. So I'm very confused by that. I like this learning. So yeah, growing a lot of herbs: sage, lavender, rosemary. I went collecting dandelion heads. I want my lawn next year to be completely yellow. I'm taking cuttings from lavender. I want to attract bees, looking after the wildlife. It does appear on the surface that most of my practice is just being a recently retired pensioner, kind of gardening and spending time with my dog. But I do speak to I am speaking to the earth. I'm speaking to the plants. I was thanking the tree. I asked permission, and I was thanking the tree when I was harvesting leaves. Only one leaf from each bunch, and didn't take a huge number. When we were harvesting the dandelions, we were only taking the heads with seeds where there were huge numbers of dandelions in the immediate vicinity to begin with. Any bugs, I was kind of brushing away, blowing off of the plant to avoid causing any harm. Yeah. It's a green druid a thing? I think all druids are green, aren't they? I think any druid should have a garden. Yeah. Everyone will start meditating more. So, that is all of the topics that I have something to say on, that I have a perspective on from this year so far. Sorry for the length of the video. I'm still nowhere near Kara's video lengths though, so I think I should be good. So that's it from me. Your Thursday Pagan Perspective sub in this subs week. I'm not sure what date this is going up. This goes up. What, we're April? No, April, May 4th. So I will have just been at Avebury for the kind of the Wicca / folk traditional bits of Beltane. I should have just come back. I'm recording this a few weeks in advance. I should have just come back for 2 days or a day and a half, and then I'll be going back to Avebury again for the Druid Beltane Gorseth. So yeah, maybe I'll tack on in the description below how it went with the maypole and the dressing up and running around and whatnot. Well, I don't run, but yeah. Find somewhere that you have near you that you can, like a pilgrimage point maybe. I'm finding that that's definitely something that helps. It keeps me, it gives me a focus, a place to think about when I'm trying to meditate. It's a calming place. I'm there regularly, but not so often that it becomes stale or boring or old or too familiar. Um, Avebury is a gorgeous place. Rambling a little bit. If you've listened this far, well done. Yeah, that's this week. Blessed be.